We're about to dive into one of the most powerful and, honestly, most important documents of the 20th century. It's the diary of a young girl, Anne Frank. But it's so much more than that. It's a personal story that somehow became a voice for millions.
And it all starts with this one simple but really profound thought. Paper has more patience than people. This is the whole reason the diary even exists. It's what sparked a 13-year-old girl to pour her entire soul onto the page, basically creating the one friend she felt she could always count on to listen.
So, to really get the diary, you have to understand the world Anne was living in. It was a terrifying time. She was a German-born Jewish girl, and her entire life got completely turned upside down by the rise of the Nazi Party.
I mean, just look at how fast everything changed for her. She's born in Germany, but then her family has to flee to Holland just to be safe. But then, the safety runs out. The Nazis invade the Netherlands, and the danger is right back on their doorstep. So, in July of 1942, the Frank family and 4 other people just vanished. They went into hiding in what came to be known as the secret annex, this hidden apartment behind a swinging bookcase in her dad's office building.
Okay, so just try to put yourself in her shoes for a second. You're a teenager. You're suddenly locked away in this tiny, secret space, completely cut off from everything and everyone you know. What do you do with all those thoughts, all those fears, and all those dreams? Well, for Anne, the answer was she needed to create a friend.
You know, on the surface, you'd think she wasn't alone. She had her parents, Otto and Edith, who loved her, and her older sister, Margot. She was literally surrounded by people. But she still felt this incredibly deep loneliness, this feeling that there was nobody, not one person, she could really truly tell everything to.
And that's where her diary comes in. She got it for her 13th birthday, right before they went into hiding, and she decided to make it her friend. She even gave it a name, Kitty. And Kitty wasn't just a book for writing down what happened each day. No way. Kitty was her confidant, the one friend who would listen to everything. Her fights with her mom, her feelings about her first crush, and her biggest hopes for what she'd do after the war.
And this is what's so amazing. Even in these unbelievably scary and strange circumstances, life kinda went on. Teenagers were still teenagers. They still had to do their schoolwork. And Anne was still Anne, a super bright, funny, and, well, an incredibly talkative girl.
It sounds completely bizarre, right? But the people in the annex, they kept up a routine. They had school lessons to keep their minds going and to create some sense of a normal life. But, you know, with normalcy comes normal problems, like a teacher getting totally fed up with a student who just will not stop talking. So her math teacher, a Mr. Keesing, who she called an old fogey, was just constantly annoyed by her chatting. So as a punishment, he starts assigning her these essays, all about how much she talks. First, it's an essay called a chatterbox. That doesn't work. So he amps it up to an incorrigible chatterbox, which basically means she's impossible to fix. And then he gives her this third, almost insulting title.
But Anne's response? It was absolutely brilliant. She didn't just write some boring essay. She used her wit. She argued that talking is just a natural trait for a student. She promised to try to control it, but then she cleverly added that, well, she got it from her mother, and, you can't do much about inherited traits. Even Mr. Keesing had to laugh at that one.
So for that third and final punishment, she decided to completely flip the script on him. With a little help from a friend, she wrote the entire thing as a poem. It was this funny, satirical story about a father duck who literally bites his own ducklings to death just because they quack too much. The message was pretty clear, right? Punishing someone for being who they are is just ridiculous.
And the result? It was incredible. Mr. Keesing totally got the joke, and he loved it. He read the poem out loud, not just to Anne's class, but to other classes too. And from that day forward, he let her talk. He never gave her extra homework again. In fact, he started making jokes in class. She didn't just get out of trouble, she used her own personality and humor to change her teachers. But of course, all the cleverness and life captured in that diary couldn't change the terrifying reality of the world right outside their hiding place. After years of living with that constant fear, one day, that fear became real.
2 years. Think about that. For 2 whole years, they lived in silence, whispering, hoping, just praying for the war to be over. But in August of 1944, someone betrayed them. To this day, we still don't know who. The police raided the annex, and all 8 people were arrested. From there, they were transported into the concentration camp system, horrific places designed for imprisonment, for slave labor, and ultimately for mass murder. These were the camps where millions of Jews and other victims of the Nazi regime were sent.
The conditions in these camps were unimaginable. Starvation, disease. They were stripped of everything. The family was torn apart. During the brutal winter of 1945, in the Bergen-Belsen camp, both Anne and her sister Margot got sick with typhus and died. It was just weeks before the camp was liberated by British soldiers. Anne was only 15 years old.
The loss was just almost total. Of the 8 people who hid together in that secret annex, only one person made it out alive. Anne's father, Otto Frank. He somehow survived the horrors of Auschwitz and was finally freed at the end of the war, left as the only one to carry his family's memory.
When Otto Frank finally made his way back to Amsterdam, he was given Anne's diary. One of their helpers, a woman named Miep Gies, had found it and saved it. And when he read those pages, he didn't just find the daughter he had lost, he found something else entirely.
He was just blown away by the depth of her writing, how well she knew herself, and her incredible, unwavering belief in the goodness of people despite everything she was going through. Anne had once written in her diary that she wanted to go on living even after my death, and Otto realized this was how. He knew her diary was a unique, vital record, and he decided he had to fulfill her wish. He had to get it published.
And from there, it just exploded. It became a global phenomenon. It's been translated into more than 70 languages. It's sold tens of millions of copies. It put a real human face on the mind-boggling statistics of the Holocaust. Through Anne's eyes, through her wit, her teenage drama, her fears, the whole world got a glimpse of the personal reality of living through one of the darkest times in human history.
We'll leave you with a question from Anne's own diary. Why do dead people get more flowers than living ones? It's a question that makes you think, right? About regret, about appreciation, about what we leave behind. Her voice was silenced, but her diary made sure it would never disappear. It grew into this powerful message heard all around the world, a reminder of a life that was lost, and a call for a better, more tolerant future.